The alert I filed was never meant to leave Vethani space. I want to be clear about that. When the containment seals on Lab Corridor 7 failed at 3:41 station time, I did what the protocol required. I opened the quarantine alert channel, I authenticated with my technician's code, and I broadcast the station's distress identifier on Vethani Fleet Command's internal emergency band, frequency Keth-Primary-One, encrypted, addressed to Fleet Coordination Office Orveth-Seven, marked priority absolute. The alert was specific. It named the station. It named the breach class. It listed the number of personnel on the sealed side of the blast doors. It did not name Earth. It was not addressed to Earth. I had never, in 4 years of signals work at Keth-9, transmitted anything to Earth or thought about transmitting anything to Earth. Earth was not in my protocol documentation. Earth was not in my emergency contact directory. Earth was not something I thought about at 3:41, while the interior monitoring feeds showed what they were showing. I filed the alert and I waited. The station's emergency lighting had already shifted to the amber band. Behind the blast doors at the end of Corridor 7 I could hear, or I told myself I could hear, the secondary containment barriers cycling, which meant the breach had progressed beyond the first perimeter. We had 41 personnel on the station. 11 were in the sealed section. I was not thinking clearly about what that meant because thinking clearly about what it meant was not going to help me do my job. And my job was to keep the channel open and wait for Fleet Command's acknowledgement tone. The acknowledgement tone did not come. What came, 14 minutes after I filed the alert, was an encrypted hail on a frequency I did not recognize. The encryption handshake was not Vethani. The carrier frequency was not on any band listed in my monitoring suite. It resolved, after a long 3 seconds while I stared at the console, into a voice transmission. A human voice, unhurried, with the particular flat cadence I had only heard in archived diplomatic recordings. Keth-9, this is Specialist Coraid, Terran Signals Intercept Station Orveth-14. I'm reading your quarantine alert on our emergency pattern scanner. Please confirm you have an active containment breach and advise on personnel count. I sat with that for a moment. The breach indicator on my secondary console ticked forward. The interior monitoring feeds continued to show what they were showing. I keyed the channel because there was nothing else to key. This channel, I said, is a Vethani internal emergency frequency. This transmission is addressed to Vethani Fleet Command, Coordination Office Orveth-Seven. How are you reading this signal? We monitor the Keth-9 band as part of a standing intercept charter under Terran Emergency Protocol 7, Specialist Coraid said. She did not sound apologetic. She did not sound as though she expected me to be pleased. She sounded like someone reading from a logbook. Your alert pattern matches our Class 1 containment breach signature library. I escalated it 14 minutes ago. Please confirm personnel count and breach classification. I confirmed both. I did it because the blast door at the far end of Corridor 7 had just registered a pressure anomaly on my panel, and the 11 personnel on the sealed side had stopped appearing on the interior monitoring feeds one by one. And I was a junior signals technician alone in a comms bay, and there was a human on the channel asking me for information in a flat voice that suggested she intended to do something with it. Acknowledged, she said, stand by. I stood by. I did not know what I was standing by for. I assumed she was relaying the breach data to some Terran archive that cataloged alien containment failures. I assumed Fleet Command's acknowledgement tone would arrive within the next few minutes, and that whatever Specialist Coraid had logged on her end would become a footnote in some cross-referenced incident report I would never read. The docking alert on my secondary console fired at 3:55. I had not authorized a docking approach. The station's approach corridor was sealed under the quarantine protocol. I pulled the external sensor feed and looked at the 4 ships settling into formation off the station's port quarter, running lights steady in the corridor dark, hull markings unfamiliar to me, but consistent with the Terran vessel registry images I had seen exactly once in a cultural exchange briefing 3 years prior. 4 ships, one of them was large. The large one had a hull configuration that did not suggest survey work or courier service. Specialist Koraid's voice returned. Keth-9, we have a rapid response battle group on station. Commander Ashworth is requesting your emergency airlock coordinates and a current map of the breach perimeter. He'd like to begin decontamination assessment within the next 6 minutes. I did not request a rapid response battle group, I said. No, she said. You requested Fleet Command. We intercepted the request. Commander Ashworth will explain the protocol distinction when he's aboard if you'd like, but he has asked me to note that the 6-minute window is time-sensitive. I gave her the airlock coordinates. I gave her the breach perimeter map. I did this because the blast door pressure anomaly had resolved into a full breach indicator, and whatever reasoning I might have applied to the question of whether I wanted 4 Terran ships and a Commander Ashworth involved in a classified Vethani research station's containment failure seemed, at that moment, like a lower priority than the breach indicator. What followed I can describe only from what the station's sensor logs recorded, because I remained in the comms bay with the channel open for the duration. The Terran decontamination team entered through the emergency airlock at 4:01. The boarding party, I am using the word deliberately, because that is what the incident report would later call it, entered through the secondary lock at 4:03. Commander Ashworth himself checked in with me at 4:06 to confirm the breach perimeter map was current, and to ask, in a voice that reminded me of Specialist Koraid's, whether I had any personnel in the sealed section who were confirmed alive. I told him the monitoring feeds had shown 11 confirmed on the sealed side when the breach occurred. I told him the feeds had gone dark at 3:48. He acknowledged that. He did not say anything after it. The channel stayed open, and I listened to the procedural exchanges on his team's frequency. Terse, numeric. In a register I could follow even without a translator because the grammar of containment work is the same in any language. Sector, clear, seal, confirm, move. At 5:21, Commander Ashworth returned to the comms bay in person. He was a large man. He wore a decontamination oversuit with the faceplate open, which meant the breach was resolved. He carried a hand reader and set it on my console without asking permission. He did not look like someone who had just spent 80 minutes in a sealed corridor with a containment breach. He looked like someone who had spent 80 minutes doing work. Breach is contained and neutralized, he said. Decontamination team is completing the secondary sweep of Corridor 7. Your interior monitoring feeds will be back online in approximately 9 minutes. He paused. I'm sorry about your people in the sealed section. I said nothing. There was nothing to say that was true and useful. He set 3 documents on my console. A formal incident report, printed in Vethani standard with a Terran co-signatory block. An itemized decontamination and rapid response invoice, addressed to the Vethani Research Coordination Bureau, with a notation that payment terms were negotiable under Terran Emergency Response Charter Annex 4. And a third document shorter, which informed me that Keth-9 had been entered into the Terran Emergency Response Catalog, reference number assigned, monitoring classification active, which meant that Earth's Intercept array would continue to read Keth-9's emergency band, and would continue to treat a quarantine alert pattern as a request for assistance regardless of who the alert was addressed to. I read all 3 documents. I read the third one twice. We did not aim the alert at Earth, I said. I know, Commander Ashworth said. Specialist Koraid flagged the pattern. I escalated it under Protocol 7. He picked up his hand reader. Fleet Command's acknowledgement came in 41 minutes ago. I've already logged a courtesy copy with their coordination office. He left. The decontamination team finished their sweep and cycled out through the emergency airlock. The 4 ships undocked at 6:14 and departed on a heading that, according to my nav overlay, took them back toward the mapping corridor they had apparently been transiting when Specialist Coraid intercepted my alert. My interior monitoring feeds came back online at 5:28, as Commander Ashworth had said they would. I sat with the 3 documents for a long time. Then I filed a follow-up report to Fleet Command's Coordination Office, the same office I had filed the original alert to, the one that acknowledged my alert 41 minutes after Earth had already resolved what I was alerting about. I attached Commander Ashworth's incident report as a supporting document. I noted in the remarks field that the breach had been contained and neutralized by Terran rapid response assets, operating under a signals intercept charter I had not previously known existed. In the final line of the remarks field I wrote, "Our quarantine band has been monitored by Earth for an undetermined period. Earth treats a quarantine alert as a request. We should know this when we file one." I did not know how long Earth had been listening. I did not know what else they were listening to. What I knew was this: when I needed someone on the channel and my own fleet had not yet answered, there was a voice, flat, unhurried, reading from a logbook already there. I left the 3rd document on my console where I could see it, the one that said active.